I gifted my parents a $425,000 seaside mansion for their 50th anniversary. When I arrived, my sister's husband pointed at my dad and yelled, "This is my house, get out!" My sister laughed until I walked in. I spent 15 years building my business from nothing. Started as a cleaning service with one client and turned it into a commercial cleaning company with 200 employees and contracts across 3 states. Nobody in my family knew how successful I'd become. They just knew I cleaned houses for a living. My sister Harper never let me forget it. At every family gathering, she'd mention how her husband Derek was a regional manager at some insurance company. She'd talk about their vacations and their new cars while looking at me like I was something stuck to her shoe. My parents never corrected her. They just sat there and let it happen. But they also never asked me for anything. They were proud people, even when they struggled. When their apartment building got sold and they faced eviction at 72 years old, they didn't tell anyone. I found out through a cousin. That's when I decided to do something big for their 50th anniversary. I bought them a house, not just any house. A $425,000 seaside cottage 2 hours from the city. 4 bedrooms, ocean view, wraparound porch. I put it in my name for tax purposes, but wrote up paperwork giving them lifetime residence. They cried when I showed them. Moved in 3 weeks later. I told them to keep it quiet because I didn't want drama from Harper. They agreed. That lasted 6 months. Somehow Harper found out about the house. She drove down to visit and fell in love with it. She started bringing her family every weekend, then every week. Then she stopped leaving. I didn't know any of this until my mother called me crying on a Tuesday night. "She won't leave," Mom whispered. "Derek says they're staying permanently. He changed the locks yesterday." I drove down the next morning. When I pulled up to the house, I saw Derek's truck in the driveway and a new welcome mat that said, "The Reynolds family." Harper's married name, not my parents' name. I walked up to the front door and heard yelling inside. I didn't knock. I walked straight in. The living room was full of Harper's furniture. My parents' things were stacked in boxes by the back door. Dad was standing in the corner, pale and shaking. Mom was sitting on a folding chair, tears running down her face. Derek was standing in the middle of the room pointing at my father. "I already told you, this is my house now. Your daughter gave it to you, and you gave it to Harper. That's how family works. So pack your stuff and get out before I call the cops." Harper was leaning against the kitchen counter, smiling. "Daddy, just go. You can stay with Aunt Ruth until you figure things out. We need the space. The kids are starting school here in the fall." Dad's voice cracked. "We never agreed to give you anything. This is our home." Derek stepped closer to him. "You don't have proof of that. There's no paperwork with your name on it. Possession is 9/10 of the law, old man." That's when I spoke. "Actually, there's paperwork with my name on it." Everyone turned. Harper's smile disappeared. Derek straightened up like he was trying to look intimidating. "Who the hell are you?" "I'm the person who bought this house." I pulled the deed from my bag and held it up. "This property is in my name. I gave my parents permission to live here. I didn't give you anything." Derek's face twitched. "That's not how your mom explained it." I looked at my mother. "What did you tell them?" Mom's voice was small. "Harper kept asking how we afforded it. I told her you helped. She said since you're family, it belongs to everyone." "It doesn't." I turned back to Derek. "You have 24 hours to remove your belongings and return the keys. If you're still here tomorrow, I'm calling the police and filing for unlawful occupation." Derek laughed. "You're bluffing. You can't just kick us out. We've been living here for 2 months. We have tenant rights. You're not tenants. You never signed a lease. You never paid rent. You broke into a property you don't own and changed the locks. That's not tenancy. That's trespassing." Harper pushed off the counter. "You're really going to do this? Over a house? We're family. You just told our 74-year-old father to pack his things and get out. You made our mother cry. You don't get to talk to me about family." Harper's voice turned sharp. "You think you're better than us because you have money now? You're still the same girl who scrubbed toilets for a living. I built a company that employs 200 people. I bought this house with cash. What have you built, Harper? Because from where I'm standing, all I see is someone who takes what isn't hers and calls it love." Derek grabbed Harper's arm. "Let's go. We'll get a lawyer." "Go ahead, but you'll lose. And you'll pay my legal fees when you do." They left that night, took everything except the anger they'd left behind. I spent the next 3 days helping my parents unpack their things and change the locks again. Dad kept apologizing for not standing up to them sooner. I told him it wasn't his fault. Some people only see kindness as weakness. Mom asked if I'd ever forgive Harper. I told her I didn't know. Harper called me twice the next week. I didn't answer. She sent a text saying I'd torn the family apart over property. I blocked her number. A month later, I got a letter from Derek's lawyer threatening to sue for emotional distress. I sent back a copy of the deed and a note that said, "Try it." I never heard from them again. Last Christmas, I visited my parents at the cottage. We sat on the porch and watched the waves roll in. Mom held my hand and said, "Thank you for fighting for us." I squeezed back. That's what family actually means.